that the locus of a principal is actually an extension of a head of department in the sense that he or she acts as a functionary of the department in fulfilling its strategic objectives. There is a view, and many political parties share the view, in fact most if not all of them, that there should be a distinction in the appointment of principals as opposed to educators, given the importance of that particular role. For these reasons, the Department of Basic Education, having listened to the political parties and other stakeholders as well as analysts, are of the view that a review is necessary in terms of ensuring that we look at a procedure where the efficiency and competence of the principal becomes the preeminent function rather than the choice of a governing body, especially where governing bodies do not have the capacity to distinguish between a more efficient and competent leader and manager than one that is competent and efficient.
In his supplementary question, Mr. Mponjana welcomed the acknowledgement that there will be different laws and rules in the appointment of school principals. He was nonetheless concerned about certain rules which had not been implemented.
Deputy Minister, you will agree with me that many principals who are manning our schools are product of what we call politification rather than qualification. This, what I call politification, allows no room for experience, for merit. And my question is, in 2007, to be specific, the former minister proposed that any person to be promoted to the position of a principal must have taught for at least 9 years, 5 as a post-level 1 teacher, 2 as an HOD, 2 as principal. This seems not to have been implemented. Why?
As I've indicated in my principal reply, the skills that a principal requires would be, amongst others, the ability to govern efficiently and competently, to have the skills for fiscal and financial management, to be able to implement the curriculum, to liaise with the senior management in a democratic way, to liaise with communities given his or her roles and responsibility as a professional leader and manager. Now, to that end, the Department of Basic Education had established already more than 5 years ago a course, an ACE course, which looks at these particular areas. And more than 3,000 principals and deputy principals have already been beneficiaries of such a course to enhance their capacity. The discussion and the discourse that is taking place now between the National Department and the provinces is whether indeed a requirement, there should be an additional requirement to be a principal other than being a teacher for a particular period of time. It's a combination of experience and skills, and that is also a matter that is under review currently by the MECs of Education and the National Ministry.
There were more follow-up questions from the ANC, the DA and COPE. We pick up on the question of Mrs. Hope Malgas of the ANC, who wanted to know why the review had been initiated.
You speak about the incapacity of the SGBs. Is that the only reason for the review, or are there more reasons? Thank you.
There are many reasons. With regard to the SGBs, or the school governing bodies, there are those that have the capacity and ability to make the appropriate selection and choice and recommendation, but there are those who can be influenced, as the Honourable Member from the IFP had correctly indicated, for reasons of community choices or political choices or whatever else. And we feel, given the importance of this particular functionary, it's important that we choose a person on the basis of merit and experience who would be able to lead the institution appropriately. That is also the approach of public service and administration that is being proposed in relation to officials who assume certain responsibilities. So yes, we do have a difficulty, but the legislation as it stands now does not distinguish between the appointment of an educator, an ordinary educator, and a principal or deputy principal. And for that reason, the review has indeed been invited and is being responded to.
Deputy Minister, there is a proven direct link between the professionalism and performance of a principal and the performance of learners at the school that he or she manages. Now, this country has at least two options to ensure that we rid our education system of underperforming principals. One you certainly have alluded to, and that is competence. You've spoken about a review that has been called for. A study conducted by a consortium, including the Human Sciences Research Council, recommended that competence tests be introduced to be completed and to be passed by any person applying for the post of principal before appointment to that post can be countenanced. Secondly, the Western Cape has implemented a performance management system for principals, holding them directly accountable for learner achievement or otherwise at their schools. They must perform or face being managed out of the system. In fact, in January of this year, Minister Motshekga promised to hold principals exactly so accountable for underperforming schools. She said that if schools' poor performance was found to be due to weak leadership or management, those principals will be demoted. January 2012. Will the ministry now consider and implement either or both of these options, and if not, why not?
You may well be aware of the fact that the initiative to have principals sign performance agreements is presently with the Education Labour Relations Council, and the unions are considering that. So there is such an initiative that has taken place long ago. The issue of performance management has received the collective support of all provinces. It might well be that informally, before the process unfolds and is formalized in the chamber, that the Western Cape is indeed implementing it, but that is indeed the intention of the Department of Education. We've always spoken quite publicly and about the relationship between performance, functionality of a school, and the leadership and management of schools, so we cannot disagree with you in that particular regard. What we can say is that we can take heart in the fact that there are 18 institutions of higher learning that are providing opportunities for the ACE program to be followed, and the uptake is increasing year by year, because I think communities of educators and principals and deputy principals in particular recognize the value of those skills that are requisite, which should be a requisite to be a person who leads an institution as complex as a school. Thank you very much.
I think it needs to be taken further. When she announced the annual results of the national assessment in July of 2011, the minister gave an indication that all school principals and deputies would in future enter into performance contracts with a clear targets. With that indication, we of course supported, because it would help to identify principals with their proper management skills. It would further identify principals who have the capacity to help in the assessment of educators where such principals are heads. It would help in the proper learnership programs. Now, our question is to check whether the minister has gone on with the implementation of that and how far that has happened. And secondly, whether there has been any consultation with the various structures as the Principals Forum, Principals Associations, and the unions.
The Honorable Madisha, more than anybody else, as a former president of a very big teachers organization, would have known that you can't arbitrarily implement a policy without consulting with the unions. And as I've indicated, Honorable Speaker, the matter is up for discussion and decision, not only discussion, for decision in the chamber itself, in the bargaining chamber, and the view or the feedback that we get, it does appear as if it's going to be supported by all and sundry. So therefore, we're just awaiting the formalization and finalization of the process, which has been agreed to between the Department of Basic Education and all the unions, and indeed all the stakeholders alluded to by the Honorable Madisha have been consulted, that is governing bodies as well as unions.
Do Afrikaners need to fear that their language or any other minority language is under threat? That's our question after the break. Don't go away.